The chances of Aucklanders paying road tolls has become, it seems, more likely, with the government for the first time saying the move will come. The government's previously been cool on the push by the Auckland Council to introduce road tolls from 2018 to help pay for essential transport projects over the coming decades. But today the Minister of Transport, Simon Bridges, said, and I quote, "Directly charging for road use will be part of the toolkit." That toolkit is a joint ongoing project with the Council to identify what its major transport needs are over the next 30 years and how to pay for them. Simon Bridges joins us live on the phone now. Welcome to the program, Minister. Nice to talk to you.
Afternoon, John. Good to talk to you.
What's going to happen?
Yeah, basically I think what this report is telling us, it's the second of third. The first was on the sort of the context, the facts, if you like. This is really seeing out the emerging approach for Auckland transportation. And what it's saying, I think, is a couple of things. Firstly, we need a combination of supply side and demand measures to make a real difference. But we've got to change the way we're thinking about this. It's not just going to be supply. So, yes, we will need to do something on that side. We will need more roads. We will need more public transport.
Will there be road tolls? Will there be road tolls in Auckland?
And then I think the other part, and that's in the shorter term, so that is, more investment and giving us a really good sense of the areas where we need to do that. I think in relation to pricing, what I'm saying to you is actually longer term, as we look out, demand side interventions will be of real importance as well.
Right, hold on a sec. Demand side interventions, explicitly, does that mean road tolls?
Yes, but it also tolls is perhaps not the word I would use. Pricing.
Okay, hold on one sec. So have you spoken to... Yeah, well, what's really important is that in 2012 and 2013, your government, your colleagues, Jerry Brownlee in particular, who went into a singular denial that this would ever happen, but also Stephen Joyce and John Key absolutely ruled this out. Well,
we're talking about a progressive approach where we need to, I think, get a final report first. It's too early to be definitive. I think we need more work, but where we progressively move towards pricing. And what the report is talking about, variable network pricing, which I think is different from tolling over a decade or thereabouts.
How is it different? How is variable network pricing different from tolling? How do you pay variable network pricing? It's a toll, isn't it?
Well, ultimately, variable network pricing, and we're not talking tomorrow, we're not talking next month, we're not talking next year, is directly charging for road use and varying charges by location and time of
also
day.
Known as a toll.
Well, I'm calling it pricing. I think when tolls, you're talking about gantries and the like, and I'm just trying to simply say to you, John, that's not necessarily what we're talking about here at all. I think the other important point in relation to your point about Jerry Brownlee, Stephen Joyce and others is what this isn't about. The ATAP report and the process has been specifically mandated not to be about revenue. This is very much about behaviour change and getting better results in terms of congestion on our transport network. So this is not about raising money in 2018, so as I think you said in your introduction, to fill some kind of funding gap. It's about I think two things.
If it's not about revenue,
in the shorter term that we accelerate, and then getting to pricing.
Look, there are going to be lots of people who agree with you doing this. I think Len Brown, who was ridiculed by Jerry Brownlee when he suggested this, is going to be delighted. But if it's not about revenue, and there's going to be lots of people who say user pay is a good idea, but if it's not about revenue, what's happening to the money? I mean, these are weasel words, aren't they?
No,
you are collecting money
so at all. I think
from
when we think
Auckland road users, which will go into the consolidated fund. That's tolls.
No, and I don't think it's weasel words at all, because I think actually when you think about pricing and what you're first and foremost, and as I say, I think what we are trying to do here is we are trying to change behaviours so that we're getting better results in the system. I mean, put bluntly, what this is really about is there will come a point in our network in the not-too-distant future, and we're not there right yet, where we just can't keep adding lanes to the motorways. And I think, again, you'd say, well, most people would agree with that. So then you have to move from the supply when you've done the Northwestern Busway, when you've looked further south at the local roads and the public transport, and you've accelerated the projects that will make sense regardless of what you do on the demand side. Then you have have to say, actually, we need some behavioural shift, yes, onto public transport. Yes, actually, I think increasingly, and people would say this was sci-fi a little while ago, but connected cars, ride sharing, which is changing behaviour. But yes, also, over on the horizon is that issue of pricing. And I think, look, we're just seeing here, yes, Mayor Brown and I and Bill English and Bill Cashmore, one of the councillors, that the evidence and the expert analysis in a preliminary way, but I think pretty clearly, is saying to us, if all you do is supply, keep on building, you're not going to deal with the transport problems that Auckland is.
Exactly, and they were the arguments put by people who were proponents of this some years ago, soundly rejected by your colleagues. When do you think that people will be paying charges for the use of Auckland roads that they're not currently paying? When do you expect this might start happening?
Well, I think if we think about this in a timeline sense, the first step that's going to come out of this is, I just think, later this year, a prioritised investment program of where it makes sense, because there's certain areas that are under real pressure in Auckland, to accelerate the funding and to get the projects that we need to complete our network. So that is first, and I think that's the sort of the short-term pressure, if you like. I think the issue of, the technologies, the intelligent transport systems, and the pricing comes later. But I do think, and I do hope, that the implementation plan we get out of the final ATAP report gives us a sense of that pathway where we can progressively move towards this. And I think the answer is over a decade.
What, introduced over a decade or not for a decade?
I think by and large, in terms of getting to that variable network pricing, we're talking about a decade. But it moves to that to enable it. I think we can see earlier, and I think, look, on that front, I don't know what I don't know. I know from the officials and the experts from ACOM and various transport consultancies that they will need to go away and do much more sophisticated modelling on just the hows and the whys and the what fors. But we can say today, which I agree with you, we haven't said before, both Auckland and central government, is that what the modelling's showing us is we can't just keep building at a certain point. We're also going to lessen congestion, have more capacity on the network to do these other demand side issues as well.
Simon Bridges, Transport Minister, thank you very much indeed for joining us.